NBC has announced plans for a spin-off to the hit series Suits, which will be set in Los Angeles. It will focus on Meghan Markle's character's struggle to balance her legal career while also caring for an unemployed immigrant.
She thinks we're all animals and that she's helping us.
Yeah.
With jam and honey.
I am so excited because one of my closest friends is coming over to help me cook today. Shit, what's her name? Line?
I would do way less salt than that. Let me just do it, Jen.
It's Marcy.
Whatever.
So how was your audition?
The show was canceled by the time I got there.
Well, we don't need you to work anyway because I'm able to find this.
What happened to your ring?
I gave it to the working people.
We're the working people.
The backsplash?
Oh, right.
Do you love it? Real solid gold inlay.
You spent $75,000 on backsplash?
We spent $100,000.
Oh.
Hello all. Sorry we're late. Our flight was delayed.
It was mint, though. Tell them we were in mint.
They gave you a mint. How lovely. I have some gum in my purse if you'd like.
Oh, we were in mint. It's like their business class. It's really nice. And
Meghan, I'm begging you to stop now.
It wasn't just a punchline, it was a full-body blow wrapped in animation, dipped in satire, and broadcast to millions like it was nothing. On July 17, 2025, Family Guy aired a new episode titled Twain's World, and by the end of it, social media was in full meltdown mode. Why? Because the episode's most viral line didn't come from Peter Griffin or Stewie. It came from a brief, blink-and-you'll-miss-it cutaway joke aimed squarely at Harry and Meghan.
Ryan, this is a terrible idea. We could change the course of history.
You always say that, but doesn't history pretty much suck? I mean, the Crusades, Hitler,
Prince Harry marrying Meghan Markle.
Again? Oh, like all of your wives are so much better.
The punchline? A throwaway line comparing their relationship to Hitler and the Crusades. And just like that, one of the most mainstream animated series on the planet had just compared the Duke and Duchess of Sussex to two of the most controversial forces in history in the same breath. You could almost hear the collective gasp online. Within hours, the hashtag Sussex hypocrisy was trending across X, TikTok, and Instagram Reels. But it wasn't just the usual critics piling on. Even neutral viewers, some of whom had defended the couple in the past, were openly admitting that Family Guy's brutal joke landed hard. And here's the thing, this wasn't Family Guy's first jab at the Sussexes, not even close, but this one hit differently. Maybe because it came after nearly 2 years of comedy fatigue around the royal runaway duo, or maybe because the line was so blunt, so unapologetic, it didn't feel like a joke, it felt like a verdict. What's wild is that the show didn't build up to it. It wasn't even the central gag of the episode, it was casual, background, thrown in like a dart tossed over the shoulder. But that's Family Guy's secret weapon. The more offhanded the joke feels, the more surgical it is.
That's fine, I'll go it alone. Just like Meghan Markle and Prince Harry.
And this one cut deep. Fans and critics alike have noted how the show has been increasingly bold in recent years. But even for Family Guy, this joke crossed into new territory. It didn't just roast Harry and Meghan, it essentially compared their entire public persona to a historical catastrophe. Naturally, media watchdogs were quick to question whether the joke had gone too far. But the online response made one thing clear. People weren't shocked because it was offensive. They were shocked because it felt true. That's the word that kept showing up in the quote tweets, the reaction videos, the TikTok stitches. It's not even that wild, one user wrote.
Sir, your millions from Netflix for no one knows what.
Put it with the rest of them.
Babe, time to do our daily $250,000 sponsored Instagram post for Del Taco.
I shouldn't have left the made-up nonsense.
It's just finally saying what everyone's thinking. And that might be the most brutal part. When a joke like that hits and the audience nods instead of flinches, something shifted. Insiders say the Sussex team didn't see this coming. No advance warning. No heads up from the network, just a primetime animated assassination that detonated like a cultural grenade. And while Meghan's critics were gleeful, even some of her most die-hard fans were struggling to defend the comparison. Because whether it was satire, dark humor, or outright slander, it landed. And it landed hard. But as vicious as that single line was, it was just the tip of the iceberg. Because once you trace the timeline back, the pattern becomes undeniable, and the next section proves this didn't start with Family Guy. It's been building for years.
Switching gears, Meghan Markle just announced her new lifestyle brand called As Ever, which is a little confusing because it used to be called American Riviera Orchard.
The truth is, Harry and Meghan didn't stumble into comedy crosshairs overnight. This has been a slow-burning transformation, one cringeworthy quote, one awkward PR move at a time, until the couple became something no royal ever wants to be, predictable. And nothing is more deliciously mockable than someone who insists on privacy while dropping memoirs, podcasts, documentaries, and branded jam jars. It all came to a head back in March of 2023 when Chris Rock stepped on stage for his Netflix special Selective Outrage. What started as a standard celebrity roast turned into a seismic moment for the Sussexes.
This is true. And before that, it was called the TIG. Yes, confusing. But it's like, it's like food, beauty, wellness, home decor. This is branding, life branding stuff. So we understand it can be hard to name your brand.
Rock didn't hold back. In fact, he launched into Meghan's racism allegations against the royal family with razor-sharp precision. But instead of validating them like so many progressive voices had done, he did the unthinkable. He questioned them, mocked them, framed Meghan not as a victim but as someone shocked by the basic realities of royal in-law dynamics. Some of that shit she went through was not racism, he said, pacing the stage like a man dropping a cultural bomb. That's just some in-law shit. Then came the closer. She's complaining. I didn't know it was gonna be like this. You didn't Google these motherfuckers. They're the OGs of racism. The crowd erupted, but the laughter carried something else too. Permission. That night, the floodgates opened. What had once been whispered in group chats was now Netflix approved and audience cheered. If Chris Rock could say it, so could the rest. That moment didn't just roast the Sussexes, it de-shielded them. Until then, many comedians avoided mocking Harry and Meghan too directly. There was always a whiff of danger, a fear of being branded insensitive or even racist, but Rock rewrote the rules. He gave satire the green light. What followed was a domino effect across the comedy landscape.
They wanted to know how brown the baby was gonna be.
Concerns and conversations about how dark his skin might be when he's born.
That's not racist. Even black people want to know how brown the baby gonna be.
Writers' rooms at late-night shows allegedly began carving out weekly Sussex slots, peppering in barbs about Harry's frostbitten nether regions, Meghan's podcast pivots, and their ever-growing list of media deals. It didn't matter whether the show was airing in the UK or the US. Audiences had developed a taste for it. And that's the thing about comedic timing. Once the public starts laughing at you, it's nearly impossible to dial that back. And Harry didn't help himself. The release of Spare gave comedians a buffet of material, everything from sibling fights and ghostiana hallucinations, to psychedelic drug trips and yes, that infamous frozen appendage. He practically gift-wrapped the punchlines. The more the couple insisted they were misunderstood, the easier it was to make them look ridiculous. By the time Joe Coy and Chelsea Handler joined the fray on award show stages, the pattern was locked in. These weren't isolated digs. This was the new normal. And the unspoken question swirling through every comedy club and streaming service boardroom became, if even the woke comedians are done shielding the Sussexes, what's coming next? Because if Chris Rock cracked the dam, what happened next turned into an all-out flood. And behind that curtain, writers, comics, and producers allegedly playing a risky game, one that could still blow up in someone's face. That's where we're headed next.
If you are a watcher of the royal family and you like secrets, you might want to sit down because this is a doozy. Meghan Markle has finally revealed why she and Prince Harry call each other M and H.
Behind the glitz of those 10-second punchlines and Emmy-stage smirks lies a very different world, one full of group chats, NDA-bound brainstorms, and what insiders call royal risk protocol. That's right, according to 2 industry sources tied to separate late-night comedy teams, there is now an unspoken but heavily enforced standard when writing jokes about the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. Keep it sharp, keep it fast, and keep it just under the legal radar. Because whether it's fear of lawsuits or just avoiding Archwell's wrath, writers across networks allegedly know that anything Sussex-related can blow up fast.
What could it be? A mystery for the ages. Now,
one former assistant at a major talk show speaking anonymously claimed that Meghan and Harry's names come up in pitch meetings almost every week. They're too easy, the assistant said. When there's a slow news cycle, someone will say, "Do we have a Sussex beat this week?" And we all know exactly what that means. But it's not all fun and freedom behind those monologues. There are rules. Supposedly, a spreadsheet circulates in some circles with past punchlines, flagged words, and topics considered too sensitive, particularly anything that leans into race, Diana, or children. That hasn't stopped the writers from pushing boundaries.
I assumed it was for the obvious reason. M is the 13th letter of the alphabet, and H is the 8th letter of the alphabet. 8 plus 13 is 21.
In fact, some reportedly treat it like a game, a kind of satire dare. According to leaked screenshots floating around a comedy Discord server, there's an informal contest between writers from 3 different late-night shows who can sneak in the riskiest Sussex joke that makes it to air without triggering legal heat. One of the most daring entries? A a reference to Harry's infamous frostbite detail in Spare, allegedly delivered with the phrase, "below freezing crown jewels," that aired with 0 edits on a January 2023 episode of The Late Late Show. When no cease and desist arrived, that writer allegedly earned an ice cube emoji trophy in the group chat. But not everyone's laughing.
21 was Deion Sanders' number, and Deion Sanders' nickname was Neon Dion, obviously a reference to how they light up each other's lives. Wow.
A junior producer from a major streaming comedy special claimed in private messages that Netflix execs were increasingly jumpy about Sussex-related material. After all, Harry and Meghan are Netflix talent, at least on paper, and the optics of funding their docuseries and promoting comedians who torch them, dicey. One exec allegedly referred to it as a brand collision waiting to happen. Still, the math keeps winning. Ratings go up when Harry and Meghan's names are in the script. Click-through rates spike on YouTube clips that mention them in the title. TikTok comedians go viral imitating Meghan's British tea trauma story or Harry's mushroom trip revelations. As one writer bluntly put it, they're walking setups. We just deliver the punchline. The tension now? It's no longer whether comedians can make fun of the Sussexes, it's how far they're willing to go. Because from what's swirling behind the scenes, at least one comedy special may have already crossed the line. A line Meghan's PR team reportedly scrambled to erase in the middle of the night, and that's where this gets even messier.
But no, Markle revealed that at the beginning of us dating, when everything was in code, I couldn't tell anyone who I was dating and who was keeping the secret, so I think we were just on a letter basis.
It started with a phone call, then another, then an all-staff Zoom, allegedly held just past midnight Pacific time. Multiple insiders now claim that Meghan Markle's PR team at Archwell went into full damage control mode within hours of the Family Guy episode airing on July 17th. The problem wasn't just that the joke was brutal. The problem, according to a senior publicist at a rival Los Angeles firm, was that the reaction was brutal. Social media hadn't just laughed, it had nodded. And worse, some of their own brand partners were among the ones resharing the clip. One source familiar with the situation says the team's internal Slack went into what they called red code mode. Around 11 p.m., Meghan had allegedly just gotten wind of the Hitler and the Crusades comparison, and according to the source, her reaction was instant, not tears, not silence, fury. The team was ordered to find out whether they had been warned, who at Fox might have greenlit the line, and most critically, how to get it removed. But there was no legal foot to stand on. The cartoon was protected under satire. And the internet, that beast was already loose. The panic wasn't just emotional, there was a strategic reason behind the urgency. Archwell had been quietly preparing to announce a new integrity-first brand partnership, allegedly tied to a luxury European skincare line, an image-focused launch built on wellness, authenticity, and reputation. And now, hours before their soft rollout, Meghan's name was trending not for her glow or grace, but for being the butt of the harshest animated joke of the year.
I get it. In the 80s, I dated a very famous woman whose identity I will never reveal, and only ever refer to her using our secret nickname, Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher.
Wow. That look good, bro.
Yeah.
That look good.
A second source close to the partnership claims that by the morning of July 18th, the skincare company had put everything on hold until further notice. No press push, no influencer kits, nothing, just silence. And while the deal hasn't been publicly canceled, insiders suggest the client is now re-evaluating optics. Translation? They don't want to hitch their $1 million wagon to someone getting meme roasted in real time. Inside Archwell, the anxiety didn't stop at the cartoon. Staff reportedly flagged a pattern, an escalating trend. South Park, Chris Rock, Joe Coy, Chelsea Handler, Family Guy, each joke more vicious than the last. Each one chipping away at the public's ability to take Meghan and Harry seriously. One source described the mood as existential, because once the ridicule sticks, it's nearly impossible to peel off. They were no longer being parodied as tragic figures. They were being mocked as punchlines. And here's where it gets even more delicate. According to a media strategist with ties to 2 former Archwell vendors, Meghan was advised to sit it out. No statement, no Instagram post, no veiled quotes to page 6. Just wait. But allegedly, that advice didn't land well. Meghan, according to the strategist, believes in steering the narrative, not letting it steer her. Which explains why, within 48 hours, 2 Sussex-friendly media outlets began quietly resurfacing older, flattering coverage, a clear attempt to counterbalance the backlash. But the damage was done. Family Guy didn't just drop a joke. It triggered a corporate-level freakout that revealed just how fragile the Sussex brand really is right now. And that fragility, it started long before cartoons and punchlines. You have to go back to the moment satire itself decided to flip the script. And nothing flipped it harder or more unapologetically than a certain privacy tour in South Park.
Also announced a new trade deal with the UK that will reopen British markets for American companies. All that Britain demands in return is that we keep these two.
If Family Guy was the match, South Park was the kindling. It's impossible to talk about the mainstream comedy world turning on Meghan and Harry without going back to that moment. February 15th, 2023. That's when South Park dropped its now infamous episode, The Worldwide Privacy Tour, and the fallout was so loud so fast that even the most hardened Archwell insiders were allegedly caught off guard. The episode mocked them so directly, so thoroughly, that for a brief moment the Sussex brand seemed to teeter on the edge of collapse. It wasn't subtle. South Park rarely is. The characters' thinly veiled versions of Harry and Meghan, rebranded as the Prince and Princess of Canada, paraded through global TV studios and morning shows, holding signs that screamed, "We want our privacy," while begging for attention. They released a memoir called Wah, a blatant parody of Spare, and jumped on every talk show to say how tired they were of the media, all while selling their own story. The satire was savage, but what made it land so brutally was how accurate it felt. Viewers online immediately picked up on that eerie sense of recognition. "It's not even a parody," one ex-user posted. "It's a documentary with cartoons." The phrase went viral. And that's when things allegedly went nuclear behind the scenes. According to an insider who spoke to a mid-level staffer at Paramount Global, legal inquiries did happen. Lawyers connected to the Sussexes reportedly reached out to explore what, if anything, could be done to halt reruns or issue a public complaint.
Harry says, how do you explain to someone who just started dating that they have to curtsy to your own grandmother?
How do you explain that you bow to your grandmother and that you will need to curtsy? Especially to an American. Like, that's weird.
And I'm thinking, maybe just tell her that your grandmother is the queen.
The answer? Nothing. Satire was protected, and the more noise the couple made, the worse the optics would get. So they stayed silent, publicly at least. But according to a former Archwell freelancer, the internal response was far from calm. There were calls to damage control consultants, discussions about image rehab, and most tellingly, a noticeable cooling of Meghan and Harry's media appearances. Over the next 3 months, they all but vanished from major interviews. No new docuseries push. No high-profile sit-downs. It was, in the words of one Hollywood publicist, an off-season for overexposure. But South Park did more than just land a few laughs. It unlocked something deeper. It gave other comedians permission to stop tiptoeing. It rewired how the public saw Meghan and Harry. Suddenly, they weren't brave truth-tellers fleeing royal oppression. They were celebrities, branding themselves, monetizing their pain. It was a total tonal shift, and comedy shows around the world took note. Behind closed doors, writers and producers allegedly started using South Park level as shorthand. As in, can we go that far? Or is this too much? Or is it South Park level now? The episode set the new ceiling, and comedians began aiming for it. Even inside Netflix, which had just signed Harry and Meghan to a multi-million-dollar deal, sources say there was internal tension. "We're airing their documentary," one producer reportedly joked, "and our viewers are watching South Park right after." It was messy, it was meta, and it was unavoidable. Because after South Park dragged them for filth and got applauded for it, the Sussexes weren't just fair game, they were comedy's favorite recurring characters. And with the Emmy season fast approaching, they were about to be served up again. This time, on stage and in front of the entire industry.
Earlier today, Suits actress Meghan Markle married some unemployed dude who still lives with his grandma.
By the time award season hit full stride in early 2023, the floodgates were already wide open. What began with one comedy special and a cartoon had officially spilled onto the most public stages in Hollywood, live, mic'd up, and impossible to spin. No more subtle jabs, no more coded punchlines. This was full-blown, spotlighted ridicule. And the worst part for Meghan and Harry, it was happening in the exact rooms they used to be celebrated in. It started with the Critics' Choice Awards on January 15th, 2023. Chelsea Handler, known for her sharp tongue and zero-filter delivery, took the stage as host, and within minutes, she dropped what would become the frostbite joke heard round the world. Prince Harry's memoir is a bestseller, she quipped, with that signature smirk. Harry talks about the time he got frostbite on his todger, and yes, that's a British term for penis. You'd think with all that privilege he could at least afford a scarf. The audience lost it. Gasps, laughter, some shocked clapping, and on Twitter, it trended within 20 minutes. But if that moment was painful, what came next was humiliating. Fast forward to January 9th, 2024, the Golden Globes. Joe Coy, already a big name in stand-up, stepped into the hosting spotlight. His opening monologue, littered with landmines. And right in the middle of it came this. Harry and Meghan are still getting paid millions for doing absolutely nothing. And that's just by Netflix. The crowd didn't groan. They cheered.
I want my home to feel welcoming. Do you feel welcome? Does my soundstage welcome you?
Mindy and I are such great friends, like besties. Like, I love her. Like, she doesn't know my name, but we're best friends.
Loudly, and that's the twist here. Audiences weren't cringing in discomfort. They weren't quietly disapproving. They were with it, fully, openly. What used to be taboo was now totally fair game. Even Hollywood, long considered Meghan and Harry's safest playground, had turned. These weren't outsider comedians throwing shots from the sidelines. These were mainstream blue-chip names, joking about the Sussexes in rooms full of their former friends. Industry insiders say this shift didn't happen by accident. One awards producer, speaking under condition of anonymity, claimed networks now encourage hosts to include at least one Sussex dig in their monologue. It's a guaranteed reaction, the source said. People tune in for the drama, and nothing triggers engagement like a Meghan punchline. That's not just theory. Analytics teams reportedly show rating spikes during comedy bits involving the couple. And social media, it lights up every single time. Even backstage, the energy has changed. One red carpet handler revealed that celebrities now joke about hoping they're not seated too close to Meghan or Harry, should they attend. Nobody wants to be in the shot when the joke lands, the handler said. It's awkward, and it sticks to you. The Sussexes, notably, haven't attended any major award shows since these roastings began. Whether it's by choice or silent disinvitation, no one knows for sure. But their absence only fuels the perception that they've become toxic to the glitterati, a punchline, not a presence. And the thing is, this isn't slowing down, because right now, in comedy clubs across London and Los Angeles, comics are sharpening their next round of Sussex material. And 2 upcoming Netflix specials allegedly dedicate entire segments to roasting the couple even harder. That's where this gets brutal and visual.
Any type of flower arranging is just telling a story. What story do you want to tell? Maybe leave the country. Maybe disown your dad. Be creative with it.
By mid-2025, the Sussexes weren't just punchlines. They were full-blown set pieces. Comedians weren't tossing out one-liners anymore. They were building entire segments around Harry and Meghan. And the wildest part, according to insiders close to 2 major streaming deals, that wasn't just an accident. It was strategy. These comics knew exactly what they were doing, and they knew it would sell. Take John Mulaney. On January 31st of this year, he taped his highly anticipated Netflix special at Radio City Music Hall. According to 2 audience members who attended the taping, one of his biggest laughs of the night came from a Sussex bit buried midway through the show. Not since Harry and Meghan, he joked, has Netflix paid more for no plan whatsoever. The crowd exploded. The punchline hit like a slap, not just at the couple, but at the streaming giant funding them. And from what leaked out afterward, that wasn't even the sharpest barb in the set. Another line, cut from the final release, allegedly riffed on Harry's mushroom trip confession and compared it to a YouTuber's apology video with better lighting. But that was just the beginning, because all eyes now turn to Ricky Gervais, arguably one of the most savage comedians alive, and someone who's made tearing down hypocrisy an art form. Sources claim his upcoming tour finale, titled Mortality, will close with a scorched earth take on royal privilege, and yes, that includes Harry and Meghan. A London-based comedy blogger with insider access says Gervais has been workshopping Sussex material for months.
I watched the Harry and Meghan Netflix documentary. Now, I'll be honest with you, before I watched it, I was not a fan of theirs. Now I've actually heard their side of the story, I f***ing hate them.
And according to someone who attended a secret warm-up show in Manchester, Ricky's closer involved a mocked-up slide of Spare next to a children's book titled How to Lose a Kingdom in 10 Steps. And here's where it gets almost cinematic. One production assistant linked to another Netflix special, set to air this fall, claims the comic, whose name has yet to be publicly revealed, actually filmed B-roll footage outside Frogmore Cottage. Why? Allegedly to use it as a green screen backdrop while delivering a 10-minute Sussex roast, complete with fake royal guards and confetti. It's savage, the assistant reportedly said, and it's meant to go viral. That's the play now. Don't just mention Harry and Meghan, build around them. Turn them into set pieces. Turn their lives into visual gags, because the public isn't just listening anymore, they're watching. Reaction channels, TikTok edits, shorts and reels. A joke that would have lived and died on stage in 2019 now becomes a 20 million view clip with auto captions and dramatic background music. And every time a new special hits, the Sussex name trends again, never because of a project they released, but because of the way someone else ripped them apart. At this point, the pattern isn't just public, it's predictive. PR teams brace for impact when a new Netflix special drops. Brands double-check their partnerships. And quietly, in the marketing world, Meghan and Harry's reputation is shifting from glamorous ex-royals to walking liabilities. Because if a single comic can tank your brand partnership with one viral joke, what happens when it's 3 or 5 or an entire tour closer named after your downfall? That's not satire anymore. That's financial fallout. And that's exactly where this story is headed next.
Everyone says they don't have time to make homemade meals, but if you just have 3 nannies, 2 butlers, a housekeeper, a driver, and a full-time personal assistant, you have all the time in the world. Stop making excuses and start moving snacks from one bag to another.
The jokes may start on stage, but the consequences always land in the boardroom. And when it comes to Meghan and Harry, the laughter is no longer harmless. It's expensive. According to multiple brand analysts tracking the Archwell effect, the rise in comedy targeting the Sussexes is now directly linked to corporate hesitation behind the scenes. It's not just public sentiment, it's ROI, one strategist explained. No brand wants to launch a campaign that's instantly memeable for all the wrong reasons. The numbers don't lie. One luxury skincare label, which had allegedly signed on for a 7-figure promotional deal tied to Meghan's image, quietly froze the rollout just days after Family Guy's latest cutaway gag. According to a source familiar with the deal, the company initiated a tone audit, a reputational scan of all media and social commentary involving the Duchess over the past 90 days. The verdict? Too volatile, not worth the risk. And this isn't a one-off. Several mid-tier lifestyle and wellness brands, especially those that rely heavily on influencer optics, have reportedly hit pause or pulled out entirely over the past 18 months, many citing the optics drift around Meghan. But the financial bleeding doesn't stop with her. Harry, who was once commanding upwards of $500,000 per speech at high-profile leadership events, is allegedly seeing those fees shrink if not vanish entirely. According to one booking agent tied to several international speaker series, corporate clients are now asking for guarantees that Harry's appearances won't become a punchline magnet. One pharmaceutical client allegedly dropped out of a deal when they realized the comedian hosting their event had mocked Spare just 3 weeks earlier.
Hey lowly cameraman, come over here and try some fried chicken. Try the fried chicken. Try the fried chicken. We need to make it look like I actually care about my camera crew. Come get some fried chicken. Act like you're having fun. Act like you're having fun.
They couldn't risk it, the agent said. It was supposed to be about neuroscience, not frostbite. Even Archwell's internal operations may be feeling the squeeze. Insiders say potential collaborations with major US nonprofits have been quietly shelved, not because of political concerns, but because of cultural baggage. Meghan's pivot into wellness and lifestyle content was designed to reset the narrative. But with every new viral joke, that image becomes harder to sell. You can't promote mindfulness with a straight face when you're trending for cartoon-level satire. This brand erosion isn't just reputational, it's structural. Industry observers note a noticeable reduction in Archwell's output over the past year. Fewer announcements, slower content rollouts. One source familiar with the foundation's operations claims that budget reallocation has become a regular topic in internal meetings. They're in rebrand mode, the source said, but you can't rebrand until the ridicule dies down, and that's just not happening. And the most brutal part? Every time Meghan and Harry stay silent, the jokes echo longer, but when they respond, they risk feeding the cycle. It's a lose-lose dynamic. One brand consultant compared it to repackaging a trending scandal as a lifestyle product. You can try, but the market smells desperation. Still, not everything is retreat. Some sources say the Sussexes are starting to fight back behind closed doors with a very different kind of strategy. Not on camera, not in press, but through quiet calls, lawyer-drafted warnings, and whispers about who's now on Meghan's freeze list. That's where we go next, and things get icy.
They were complaining that to pay for their own security. They were not happy about that. Yeah, they were very worried about their safety, which I get that aspect of things. After 6 episodes, I wanted to attack them.
When the spotlight turns brutal and the jokes won't stop coming, some celebrities laugh along. Others fight fire with fire. But Meghan and Harry? Insiders say they've chosen something else entirely. A cold, strategic freeze-out that's happening far from the stage lights. And it's not just rumors. According to a senior media source with ties to a Los Angeles talent agency, the Sussexes are no longer just sitting back and letting the ridicule ride. Behind the scenes, they're drawing lines. Quietly, surgically, and some names are allegedly being blacklisted. This isn't about a full-blown lawsuit. Not yet anyway. But according to 2 sources close to Archwell's inner circle, there have been multiple soft legal threats over the past year, sternly worded cease and desist letters, preemptive brand protection advisories, and what one insider called polite but pointed nudges to networks and platforms after certain jokes aired. Nothing overt, but loud enough apparently to make certain producers think twice. One comedy writer claimed that after South Park's worldwide privacy tour episode, their team was unofficially advised to avoid Sussex material for a few weeks until it blew over. It didn't. What's even more fascinating is the internal divide over how to handle it. Sources allege that while Harry leans towards staying above the noise, hoping it all burns out, Meghan's reportedly not so patient. She doesn't believe in letting people walk all over the narrative, said one insider. She wants control. She wants consequences. And that's led to what some are calling the freeze list, an informal but very real tally of people, platforms, and personalities who've gone too far. Comedians, reporters, even influencers. If they mock, shade, or otherwise undercut the Sussex brand, they're allegedly cut off. No quotes, no access.
Ginger Royal meets fit American actress. She then discovers that everything is so unfair.
No inclusion in future Archwell-facing media projects. One of the most whispered names on that list, Joe Coy. After his viral Golden Globes jab, still getting paid millions for doing nothing, sources claim Meghan was stunned by the audience's reaction. The line didn't just land, it resonated, and worse, it stayed. Within days, TikTok had turned it into a sound, a trending audio clip used to mock not just the couple's Netflix deals but their entire public-facing presence. According to one PR strategist, that was the moment Meghan realized just how quickly a joke can rewrite a reputation. The damage, they said, was immediate and sticky. Another name swirling in these off-record conversations, Ricky Gervais. While he's long been outside their Hollywood bubble, his rumored Sussex closer has reportedly caused enough concern that Archwell advisors flagged it internally, even before it's been performed. They're tracking it, a source confirmed. They don't want another South Park situation where it blows up overnight with no warning. And yet, even Oprah has allegedly offered advice that runs counter to the freeze-out playbook. According to a longtime West Hollywood publicist, Oprah has urged Meghan to go high, to re-engage with charm, not silence or snubs. But Meghan, allegedly not on board. She's in freeze mode, the publicist claimed, and she wants people to feel it. So here they stand, boxed in by ridicule, surrounded by satire, and trying to recalibrate their place in a culture that's now laughing at them instead of listening to them. But here's the big question. Is there any path back from this level of mockery? Or has comedy permanently changed the way the world sees the Sussexes? Because what's coming next might answer that once and for all, and it's not coming from a stage. It's coming from a screen. Animated, unfiltered, and allegedly more savage than anything we've seen so far.
You know you've made it when you've acquired a huge fan base of bullies. Hashtag Sussex Squad. Sussex.
This isn't just about Harry and Meghan anymore. Not really. What we're watching unfolding in comedy specials, late-night monologues, cartoon cutaways, and audience laughter is something much bigger. A cultural shift. A moment where public perception flipped, not because of one scandal or misstep, but because of cumulative mockery. The kind that chips away at image, status, and myth. One punchline at a time. Once upon a time, the Sussexes were untouchable, fresh-faced freedom fighters. Victims turned visionaries. Their Oprah interview in 2021 had people in tears, calling for reform, praising their courage. But now, just 4 years later, they're being compared to cartoon tyrants and trending under hashtags like WAH. So what changed? Comedy did. It reframed the entire narrative. Instead of focusing on the institution that rejected them, the spotlight turned to the couple's own contradictions. The grand declarations of privacy, followed by a Netflix docuseries. The need for healing, sold in a book. The vulnerability, packaged in luxury partnerships. Suddenly, the story wasn't about escape, it was about exposure. And comics saw the cracks first. They pointed, they joked, and the public laughed. Not out of cruelty, but recognition. The image of Harry and Meghan as brave whistleblowers.
And then Harry can just join the cast of Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. Yeah. Just be like fighting on TV. I know what you said about me, Denise. Say it to my face.
Didn't collapse in a courtroom or a palace. It collapsed under a monologue, a meme, a joke that made too much sense. And that's the terrifying part for them, because you can spin a scandal. You can survive bad press. But once the public starts laughing at you, it's almost impossible to take you seriously again. It doesn't matter how heartfelt your next project is, or how beautiful your next speech sounds. If the image that flashes in people's minds is a cartoon Meghan holding a "We Want Privacy" sign on a world tour, you've lost the plot. Now insiders claim there's another animated takedown in the works. One so brutal, so unfiltered that internal Archwell teams are allegedly preparing a preemptive response strategy. We don't know which network is behind it yet, but one industry whisperer called it South Park on steroids, a savage send-up of everything the couple has tried to become, and if it lands the way people say it will, this next round could seal the public's perception for years. Which begs the real question here, can Meghan and Harry bounce back from this? Can you rebrand a reputation that's been memed, mocked, and turned into viral sound bites? Or is this the price of turning your life into content? When you live by the media, do you eventually get buried by it? Drop your thoughts below, like, subscribe, and stay tuned. The next video on your screen is waiting, and trust me, you won't believe what's coming next.